Welcome to the Body Peace Podcast, formerly known as Her Story on a Plate. This podcast has always been a space for deep, nuanced conversations about food, body image, and the stories our bodies carry. But as conversations have grown, so has our mission.
That's why this is now the Body Peace Podcast, a name that reflects what we're truly here for, helping you step off the battlefield with your body and move toward more compassion, connection, and ease.
Each episode will bring real, honest dialogue with your hosts, me, I'm Jennie Kramer.
And me, Nina Manolson. We'll also be joined by guests whose personal stories and professional wisdom offer new ways of thinking, feeling, and being in your body.
We're so glad you're here. Welcome to the Body Peace Podcast.
Jennie, I have been waiting for us to have this conversation about Oprah, weight loss, about food noise, because, and I know you've been hearing this too, my clients feel inundated by the messages of society telling them that their body needs to be different and these new weight loss drugs are the way to go. So let's unpack the influence of Oprah. Let's unpack weight loss drugs and let's talk about food noise.
Okay, Nina, I'm up for it.
Correct.
Well, it's really been a hot topic. I mean, certainly among my clients, certainly even among my peers, my friends, I get millions of texts from people I know. So what do you think of this? Right. I want to start with a very important point, I think, which is you and I are not here to tell people what to do, and we're not here to proselytize. Everybody has body autonomy, but body autonomy doesn't mean that you can just do you can do anything. It's not smart to just do anything unless you know your context and you know your drivers and you know the things that motivate what you do. So I will never, and I know, Nina, you're in the same boat here, I will never have any judgments of any kind for anybody that chooses to do anything related to their body, especially, if they really think they hate their bodies and they want them smaller. That's just tragic to me, because what happened to just loving and accepting the body that you miracles produced, right?
Yeah. And Jennie, I always say, I have no judgment for anyone because I ran out. I used it all up on myself. I judged myself for decades. I did all the things, failed at all the things, and I just judged so much that literally it became boring. So absolutely, you're not going to get the judgment around anything from us. And I want to clarify, because we say body autonomy almost on every single episode. Whenever we talk, we're talking body autonomy, even when we're not recording.
Right.
And to be clear, body autonomy is the idea that it's your body. You get to do whatever the heck you want to do with your body. It's your choice. And
well, yes, and not necessarily abortion if you live in certain places. That's
true.
A whole other story, but we won't do that today. Okay.
Yeah.
Just saying.
And just saying, right, just to be really clear. And your body, your choice, we want you to be informed. We want you to think about it, not just from a facts level, but from a societal level, from a interpersonal, emotional level. We really want you to make choices where you're in a deep conversation with your body.
Deep conversation. Such a great phrase. So let's start with some of the facts, right? What are these injectables, right? They have a lot of trade names, which we all know: Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, all the rest. They are GLP-1s, right? And they are a hormone produced in the gut, released after we eat. And the idea is that it will reduce appetite and the release of insulin, right? And regulate appetite in food. Now, doesn't this just sound like perfection, right? Like, oh, God, yes, thank you. This is what I've been waiting for.
Right. And that's what people are saying is, oh my gosh, I have been waiting to stop being obsessed with what I ate, what I will eat, How full am I? How not full am I? I ate too much. And so it does give that panacea that, like, I have solved for what we're now hearing these words of in our culture, food noise, which is problematic.
Gosh, food noise. That's such an interesting phrase, isn't it? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
when you ask people, what is that to you? They can sort of define it, right? They say, well, it's that voice in my head that's always telling me to eat, not eat, eat, not eat, eat, not eat. Now, what
Mm-hmm.
I wonder is that your intuitive voice saying, I am hungry, I should react to that cue.
Mm-hmm.
I am getting full. It would be a good idea to react to that cue. Or is it a critical voice?
Yeah.
A voice that says, don't you think you've had enough?
Yes.
Don't you think you've had enough? Do you really want that? You sure you want
Mm-hmm.
that? If you have that, you deserve everything you get. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and worse, right? I mean, we can all imagine. So is that food noise? I don't know what food noise is. We're
For
supposed
me,
to, yeah,
right, we are supposed to have an appetite. For me, the times that food noise was the loudest in my life is when I was restricting, because literally the food noise would get into my dreams and I would dream about food when I was in my restrictive eating. And what I know from personal experience and from sitting with many clients is this feeling of like I'm sitting at a table and everybody else has put down the fork. And all I can think of is, oh, there's still some food there. Maybe I could eat it. But if I eat it, I will look too gluttonous. And if I don't eat it, I just can't stop thinking about it.
look how
Right.
much time that took up, right? Look,
Mm-hmm.
just that thought, right?
Yep.
Think about how much that takes up space in our brains, in our souls, right? I should, I shouldn't, I can't, I won't, but I have to. Oh, screw it. That's it. I have to,
It's
that's,
exhausting.
I'm just giving it. It is exhausting, isn't it? So you can understand when someone says, okay, you mean all I have to do is inject myself once a week. It'll take 4 seconds and I won't have to have,
It costs thousands of dollars. But anyway,
well,
we'll
yeah,
get to
well,
that.
that's another point, isn't it? Right. But,
Mm-hmm.
but I won't have to have that noise.
Mm-hmm.
That noise is not solved in my mind by an injection. That is the noise that you want to listen to. You want to understand what's the story behind the noise.
I love that. What's the story? What is the story behind that noise? And I want to take it back to my personal
Sure.
account of my food noise. That story was I had been on diets most of my life. So there was always this feeling of you're not allowed. Well, let's just put it on anyone, when we say to somebody, anyone, you're not allowed this, you're not allowed this, you're not allowed that, what's going to come up inside of us? But inner rebel, a loud inner rebel that goes, don't tell me what to do. Literally, our body autonomy that says, I'm going to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And don't you dare tell me otherwise. And
So,
that conversation between that inner rebel and the rules is very loud.
so in my personal story, my mother was always in a very large body. And as a kid, I didn't know that. I didn't care. I just thought there was more to hug, more to love, all of that, right? And then what I noticed is on the inside cabinet in the kitchen, right on the door, I would always see some diet posted. And I have such a
Ouch.
clear memory in my mind. I was probably 9 years old. I remember looking at this thing, it was probably Weight Watchers at the time. And I remember saying, oh God, I hope I never have to do that. And that was
Mm.
in my head for a long time.
Mm.
The other food noise that was in my head was after kids made fun of her in front of me.
Mm.
My peers made fun of her, not me. And from that moment on, my
Oh.
mantra became, okay, don't let me be that. Don't let me be that. Don't let me be
Mm-hmm.
that. Right? That's food noise, right?
That.
But it also
totally, that's food noise and that's body shame noise.
Isn't it? And that's my point, that I think what we
Mm-hmm.
call food noise
Mm-hmm.
is deeper than that. I'm not saying you have to go through 10 years of psychoanalysis to figure it out first. I'm saying
Right.
just take a look. The
Yeah.
evidence is always right there. Think
Yeah.
about your past. Think about your relationship to food. I can't tell you how many clients I see that say, you know, I'm successful at
Mm-hmm.
everything else. I
Yes. Oh
can,
my gosh.
right? I can run a family. I can run a business. I
Mm-hmm.
have friends. I travel. I do this. And the list
Mm-hmm.
in my arm. And there's just this one thing.
Right.
Well, but
Oh my gosh. I totally ditto, ditto, ditto. This one thing that I can't get under control.
right. As if it is to be controlled. See, that's the point.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
when I say this to people, they're like, have you lost your mind? No, it is not to be controlled. Yes, I get it. If your food noise is your shame, your conscience, your compilation of all the other voices in your life that have criticized you, of course you want to make that softer. That's why
Yeah.
you binge to begin with. That's why you
Mm-hmm.
emotionally eat to begin with, or that's why you just overeat or compulsively overeat to begin with. It's to turn off that noise. So now you say, well, okay, but now I can just have an injectable and I don't have to do all those things and the
Mm.
noise will be gone, except it isn't.
Yeah. Right. And let's take that path from that food noise, from that body shame noise back to Oprah, because literally that's how she opened the special that she did about shame and really talking about her weight loss journey. And what she said loud and clear in many different ways is my body shame was so intense, and it is absolutely.
Yeah.
She said, I took on the shame that everybody piled on every magazine, calling her out for the shape of her body. And Jenny, you and I had a really interesting chat right before. And I was like, no, 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 stop. Let's hit record, because you started talking about Oprah and how, say more about that whole piece around her body shame.
So look, first of all, I have to say, I don't know what it is. I will never know what it is to be in the public eye and to that degree. Okay. And I have to hand it to her that over the years she has been willing to be vulnerable on this subject and to share what she's doing and to share her struggle. I get it. And I give her lots of credit for that. And I think she's made a huge difference by also making public that by talking about trauma that she's been through. I think that's made it easier for others to talk about it. So I'm thankful to her for that. Now,
Mm-hmm.
the message I came away from with this special that she did, and who knows if this is what she meant, is that now what she's figured out is that the way to get rid of her shame is to be thinner.
Yeah.
I don't
Right.
know if that's what she meant.
Right. And it was broadcast super loud, right? If I can do it, if I can get rid of my shame by being smaller, you can get rid of your shame by being smaller too. Now, how is it in a culture that is riddled with literally putting the shame on women, like slathering it on us with every ad, with every new diet, with every new drug, which is that our body is wrong, that now how do we solve for that? Change our body. There's something so wrong with that. We're not looking at let's change our culture.
Well, that's exactly the point, right? So diet culture persists. And I never cease to find it amazing that people will do anything,
Mm.
literally anything to be thin. I
Yeah.
will take a drug that,
Mhm.
yes, arguably has been on the market a long time. By the way, for a very different purpose. It was for if you're diabetic, but I
Yeah.
take a drug, I will inject myself, and I understand that I'm going to have to take it forever because What do we know so far? If you stop it suddenly, or if you just stop taking it, you will not only very quickly gain the weight back, you will gain back more. Now, if you live in the land of denial, you say, well, that's not me. What'll happen is I'll lose some weight and then I'm going to move my body more because I won't be ashamed because my body will be thinner. And by moving my body, I won't gain the weight back. God, I hope you're right.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think so. I'd love to
Well,
see
and part,
body anyway, but I don't think so.
yeah.
Yeah.
And part of my concern, and yes, the semaglutides have been around for a while, but I do honestly have a concern given the history of weight loss drugs in our society, right? In the 1950s, we had amphetamines and diuretics and laxatives.
Mm-hmm.
And by the 1960s, they were pulled, right? Because of heart issues, because of death.
Yes.
In the 1990s, we had fen-phen, right?
Yeah.
Which started this sort of cocktail of different drugs plus the appetite suppressant phentermine.
Right.
And that then was recalled in 1997 due to concerns that the products caused heart attacks.
Yes, and actually,
right?
people who died from it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So if we're looking at the history of weight loss drugs, doesn't have an illustrious background. It has a background of harming people because it pushes our body to a place that it doesn't work well. And there's other things along the way, right? We have the bariatric surgeries that people have issues with. We have all the stomach stapling and all the stuff.
Again, I want to be careful here because some of our listeners have had bariatric surgery. I get it. That was the choice you made. I honor your choice, but I will say
absolutely
it is interesting to me that, again, we'll do anything. We'll even go under the knife. We will even restrict ourselves, by having that surgery and eating a diet that is so not intuitive, so not natural to who you are.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'll just say the statistics now, because we're this many years out from the start of bariatric surgery, is that more than 75% of people regain all of the weight and more. Now, you say, well, how is that possible? They've had surgery. Shouldn't it be stopping it from themselves? No, they figure out a way to get around it because that's the point. Until you get to what is the driver, what gets in the way between you and being able to honor your natural hunger and satiety cues, if you can refine them, then all the injectables, all the surgeries, all the drugs, they will work for a while. And then you'll be looking for the next thing. And we're just trying to, I often say, it's sort of like imagine being on a highway and you're on one side of the highway and you see on the other side you have dead stop traffic. They're at a dead stop. There's something that happened ahead. And you say, oh, these poor suckers, right? You're streaming along. And then all of a sudden, you see in the distance on the other side, some poor schnook who's about to turn the corner has no idea that this dead stop traffic is in front of them. And you want to say, no, go back. It's almost, that's how I feel. Like I want to stop you from being in dead stop traffic again. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's so important to take a moment and go, what am I getting into? Right? Am I actually turning up the volume on the food noise, on the body shame? Because that's often what we do. We have a problem. Let me focus on what the society is saying. We're solving for your problem. But what it does is actually amplify this obsession, because then, am I going to stay on this? Am I going to keep the weight off? Is this going to be me forever? Uh-oh, it's not working. Now I have digestive problems. Did I do the wrong choice? And again, you get to do what you want to do. And I really think our invitation is come down a little bit deeper and actually listen. What is the conversation? And I'm not going to call it food noise, because it's an actual conversation that you're having with your body, with your food, with other women when you walk into a room. What are you saying to yourself? All of those conversations with our bodies are gold. They are important. They are valuable knowings of what we really need and need to unpack to feel relaxed with food, not quiet with food, but at peace.
As we talk about this, I'm reminded of something called internal family systems, which I know you know a lot about, IFS. And it is, in a word, it's a form of therapy that invites you to sort of take a look at the parts of you, not the physical parts, but the parts of your psyche, of your being that have developed over time, like a protector, a defender. There are different parts. What I love about IFS is that you actually get to talk to those parts. So you have a choice. You can go for expensive therapy and go talk to your parts. Or what you could do, you could, and it's very good therapy, by the way, or you could start by actually just speaking to yourself in a gentler, kinder voice. Not the voice of the bullies that might have made fun of you as a child or an adolescent. Not the voice of perhaps a parent who was very critical of your habits or your body size. Not the voice of diet culture, not the voice of social media, not the voice of every ad that you see everywhere all the time. To find your own inner voice that says, okay, wait a second. Let me do a little inventory. This body has been through a lot.
Yeah.
Here's the question I love to ask people to just ask themselves, and I invite anybody who's listening, when you have the time, to really just journal this for yourself. What miracles has my body produced? And what has my body taken me through? It's almost
beautiful.
like start with gratitude,
Yeah,
instead of
absolutely.
looking at the wrinkles and the rolls and just start
Yeah.
with gratitude. Yeah.
Yeah. The other exercise, and I love that, right? What are the miracles? What has my body done for me? The other thing that I invite people into is, what's the endearment that you call your dog, your cat, the little baby that's being strolled down the street, right? What is that name of from your heart, right? Oh, sweetie. Oh, honey. Oh, bunny. Oh, love. Those that just ooze kindness and warmth. And put your hand on your heart and say that. Oh, honey. Oh, sweetie. Right? The way that we treat beings that we care about, that we think are God's gift on the planet, right? We are that too.
Nina, this could be problematic. I have a little 5.3 pound Yorkie.
And what do you call?
Well, do I have to start calling myself Sweetie Boy? Because that's what it is.
Yes, sweetie boy. Absolutely. Right? Imagine you turned to yourself and went, oh, sweetie, right? With that sense of kindness, right? I was with my great niece this past weekend, and her name is Stella, and I would go, Stella Boo. And imagine if I looked in the mirror every morning and went, oh, hi, Nina Boo. Like, it's just sweet.
But it's okay. I really. All right. But you could try it. I think you should try it.
I could try it. But there's a gentleness, there's a lightness, there's a delight, right? We're delighting in our existence. We're delighting that we are in a body, that we are here to experience life instead of being in the despair, right? The difference of being in a despairing relationship with our body. And I understand how we get there, right? There's injury, there's illness, there's mobility issues, there's trauma. Absolutely. There's all these aspects that put us in that place of despair. And there's no light switch that we can click and then ta-da, we're in delight. But if we practice, it's not, right? That's what I always say about body peace. It's not a destination, it's a practice. So if we practice being like, oh, hi, sweetie, and just see how that could make a slight shift in how we relate to ourselves.
It's a beautiful idea. If I think about all the folks that we both work with and we get to the privilege of working with, so often I hear, yeah, okay, enough of this gratitude stuff. I am just miserable in my body. Thank you very
Yes.
much. I don't want to have to order all my clothes online. If it's okay with you, I'd like to just walk into a store and buy something and put it on and have it look nice. And that's that. If I could just do that, then everything else would be okay. Boy, I wish that was true. Now, again, I say body autonomy, right? If you want to go do that, go do that. Really, Godspeed. But I'm also trying not to live in the fantasy of, as long as my body looks a certain way, I will be happy. I say, if you can find your happiness, if you can find your peace, if you can find your self love, you will be in the body you want to be in. Because you'll be in the one you're in, or because it may just transform in some ways on its own.
Yeah. And we're not saying it's la la land. It can get too simplistic either side, right? Oh, you're going to take these drugs or do this diet and ta-da, then you're going to be able to have that simple relationship with a body that you get to walk into that store that people say they want to walk into and fit the straight sizes. Okay, that to me also is simplistic, just as it's simplistic to be, I'm hating my body all the time. Neither one of those are multidimensional relationships with one's body. There's no relationship, real, authentic relationship in the world that is like la 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 all the time. That doesn't exist. Let's get real about how we feel about ourselves. We don't just walk in, wake up every morning, and the people you're in your life with, everything is hunky dory, like walking into a store and everything fits. It's complex. We have conversations, we have feelings, we have beliefs that we bring to the relationship. Let's normalize the complexity of our relationship with our body. It's not so simple as there is body noise and there is food noise and there is shame noise and we should just erase it. That's not a real relationship.
I love that you just talked about the relationships we're in with other people, right? Can you imagine, and maybe this is true for some, I hope it isn't. Can you imagine that you wake up every morning and perhaps you have a partner or a spouse, someone that you love, and the first thing you say to them is, ugh, ugh. I mean, that's what
really? You?
is what some of us do. Like we get up and we look at them and say, oh God, okay. Now, can you imagine if you did that to the person you love? So if you can't imagine doing that to the person you love, make yourself the person that you love.
Yes.
So that you don't do that to yourself. You could actually say,
yes,
good morning. How are you? I mean, you don't have to do it out loud. You don't have to be taken away. But I'm just saying, imagine if you just greet yourself the way you would greet someone that you love.
Yeah. And honestly, it doesn't even have to go as far as I am somebody I love. Be loving. Make it a practice. You don't have to be in body love. I often feel like that's just too pie in the sky. It's too aspirational. Let's just be in the practice of being peaceful with ourselves, being in the practice of being loving, being in the practice of being kind and caring. We don't have to do it perfect. We can't. Life happens. Oprah gets on TV and starts saying everybody should do what I did and everybody can do it, as though everybody is Oprah and everybody's body is like hers. That's not true. Let's just be in the practice of being in our own body with the skills and the kindness that we can muster.
I want to say one final thing too, and this is a conversation about privilege. Because even if we thought that the injectables the GLP-1s, the semaglutides, the Wegovy's of the world, the Manjuros, all of those. Even if we thought they could do what we think they're going to do you realize how many people can't get them?
Right.
And
cannot afford them. Insurance will not cover it.
I found it so interesting that right on this, I want to call it the Oprah infomercial. Sorry, but that's what it felt like to me. Right there and then, it was discussed that insurance doesn't pay for it. So why then do a program that's going to reach millions only for there to be millions who look at it and say, well, that's nice, but actually I can't get that anyway. And the reason why we can't get it is because it is so very expensive. And that tells you something. If a cancer drug, a miracle cancer drug, comes onto the market, it starts out very expensive. And then you know what? It becomes accessible to most people because you're not going to withhold a cancer drug if you have insurance and all of that. So I think there's
a lot of money to be made here.
Well, of course, right? The multi-billion dollar of the weight loss industry. So don't forget that's still at the heart of things.
Yeah. Yeah. And to ask yourself the question, who's making money off of my shame?
It's a great question.
Right? When I'm feeling bad, I'm like, wait a second. There's a couple of questions I ask myself. When I suddenly am having a shame attack, I'm like, what just happened? Like, was there something that triggered it? And is there somebody making money off of my shame? Right? Did I just go by a huge billboard that said, whatever, if you do this, you will have no wrinkles. And then suddenly I'm feeling bad. What? Oh, I went by the billboard. Oh, and the billboard told me that I should be getting all these things so my face doesn't look like I'm the age that I am. And wait, somebody's making money off of that.
Right.
I don't want to be feeding that. I want to be nourishing myself.
What a beautiful ending line that is. I don't want to be feeding that. I want to be nourishing myself.
There you go. All right. See you next time. Thanks for listening.
We're so glad you joined us on this episode of Body Peace.
Stay connected as we continue exploring what it means to live in your body with more ease, trust, and care by subscribing to Body Peace on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen.
Be sure to visit us at bodypeacepodcast.com for special bonus content for those on our mailing list.